Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, um, before I get into the full review, I want to talk about, well, as I like to say, characters that are floundering or just waste of potential, whatever you want to sit there and call it. And it's come to my attention, and I'm pretty late to the game, um, that the actor that's playing Julian is leaving. And when I looked at his character today, and I've been looking at this character for a while, first of all, I don't know if the character's leaving or if it's just the actor. But I gotta sit there and say, this character is... I mean, on one hand, he's getting into some interesting stuff, I guess, with Cyrus, and to see what that's about. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to go on with that. But this character has been just, like, downgraded so much. He's either, pretty much kind of getting the middle finger stuck up in his face by his kids. He has Sonny that's constantly sitting there bullying him around, and then he has Cyrus that's sitting there bullying him around. At one point he had Nell that was sitting there just telling him what to do and, getting the best of him. It's like, what happened to this character? So to be honest, when I found out that the actor was leaving, I was like, so was the character leaving too? Because, listen, I like his character, but it's a sad representation of what he once was. I mean, and let's talk about his character today. He is at the hospital. I forgot why he was at the hospital, but, he's sitting there seeing the new Lucas and Sam and Olivia, and he's like, what's going on? And, Olivia's like, oh, Leo had a fall or whatever. And I'm like, whoa. I'm sorry. Why didn't you call Julian when this happened? The thing is, it's not like he just scraped his knee, you just put a band-aid on it. Like, he had to go to the hospital, and you would sit there and think, you guys are co-parents, you're in a better place or whatever. You're not perfect, but you're in a better place. And you didn't even bother to call him to tell him that his son was in the hospital? Like, are you serious? And another thing, I'm surprised that he didn't go off more on that. Because he should have. I just now thought about that, like, wow. But anyway, at that point, Lucas just kind of just goes off on him, and then, Sam does the exact same thing because it's Sam, and I guess that's just her default settings. And, later on, after Sam walks off, Julian follows her to sit there and say, I'm going to try, I'm going to keep trying, and yada, yada, yada. And, Sam is just like, I'm not having it. We're not going to have a relationship, and stop trying to force it, and yada, yada, yada. At this point, I'm just kind of, like, tired of seeing Sam constantly getting an attitude with Julian, I'm just done, and I'm over it, even when she sits there and says, oh, you held a knife to my mother's throat. I guess we're kind of forgetting the part where the other Olivia decided that, she was going to threaten Leo, and that's why he had to do it. Everyone keeps forgetting that detail to the point where I'm just like, why is this character even still here? I'm so sick and tired of this character just constantly getting the crap kicked out of him. It's just... And at some point, listen, I know that, and granted, I'm not a parent, but I know that you're supposed to sit there and love your kids. And even when they push you away, you fight harder. But, I gotta sit there and say, maybe, I'm not saying, like, you have limits, but maybe you can just kind of love them, at a distance, Like, you can love them from a distance, because just this constant back and forth, after a while, it's like, the sad thing is, I know I'm not the only person that sees this. I know that when you watch it, let's say another week goes by, and you see Sam and then you see Julian walk by her or whatever, you already know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. And you get to a point where even with Lucas today, because Lucas was just sitting there saying you're not cut out as a parent, yada yada yada, and blah blah blah. And listen, I get it. You know, Julian has not been the most perfect parent. And I understand that they have their issues with him, and they're allowed to have their issues and have their feelings, but after a while, it just gets kind of old. You know, and when he was all like, oh, you're not cut out to be a parent, yada, 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 it was like, okay, Lucas, we get it. You don't like him. Like, at some point, I kind of stare at my phone like, oh, is he done? Oh, you still giving him a ride act? Alright, cool. Let's check out what's on Instagram, because that's how I feel at this point. Anyway, after a long day of, you know, Julian getting the crap kicked out of him, he sees Cyrus, and Cyrus is like, because at first he's like, yo, I don't have any, I don't feel like dealing with you, Cyrus. I've had a bad day, and pretty much Cyrus is like, well, I'm going to make it better. That's not what he said, but, you know, must be something. Now, let's talk about Cyrus and Brando. So, pretty much Sasha is ODing, and Brando picks her up, takes her out, because, you know, Cyrus is like, listen, this can't, like, tie back to me, so take care of this. And Brando took her to the hospital, and Sonny was there. He calls Michael, which, by the way, Michael ran down to Chase. It was like, what's going on? And then, you know, Chase just walks out, and, you know, Willow feels kind of bad. They go back upstairs. They're talking for a little bit. And, you know, at one point, I don't remember which scene happened first. But there's a scene where Willow, you know, because Chase is at a bar or whatever drinking, and Willow walks up and, you know, she's like, we gotta talk. And then they talk, and I'm just like, you're not making this better. Like, how? I'm just like, alright, I get that he cheated on you and stuff like that, but you saw the look in his eyes, okay? And Willow isn't a vindictive person. Like, okay, you cheated on me, I'm gonna cheat on you back or whatever. Like, she's not that type of vindictive person. It's not like she got joy out of seeing him in pain and stuff. Like, they both saw that he was hurt. And your idea is to sit there and meet him at a bar to sit there and talk. And the first thing that she starts talking about is, you know, we got to decide on how we feel, and, you know, we didn't have any outside, and we could just kind of just decide on where we're going to go. And I'm like, how is this helping him? Like, here's the thing, nothing that you can say or do at this point is going to fix it, okay? And you didn't cheat on him, so it's not like you have to feel guilty, but talking, there's just situations where you just can't just talk your way out of, or just talk about something and make it just better. Like, you just can't. As much as I would love to believe that, it's just not possible. And that situation was just not possible. Anyway, they all get the call that, well, from Sonny, that Sasha OD'd or whatever, she's in the hospital. And Willow and Chase and Michael, they all go down there to see and see what's going on. And Cyrus is in, you know, Sasha's room or whatever, and he's like, oh, that new product? Yeah, we gotta tweak it down a little bit. And it was a little bit too high. And he looks at Sasha, he was like, oh, you know, you had so much promise or whatever. And he looks at the ventilator, and he's about to just shut it off. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, actually, tell you the truth, there's nothing really can happen. I mean, it's that one little squeaky nurse that, I don't even remember her name, because I'm not gonna lie, she's really not that important to me. But she was the last person that saw him. Anyway, so as he's about to turn off the ventilator, you know, Michael grabs him, just yanks Cyrus right out the room or whatever, and he just goes off on him, you know, and he pretty much threatens him after him saying, you're a drug dealer, yada yada yada, and I'm gonna get you and expose you, and he just goes off on him. And after Jason and Sonny calms him down, you know, Cyrus is just like, oh, I want a public apology. You know, and it's this nice scene where Sonny just like, for what? I didn't hear him say anything. Did you hear him say anything? And, you know, ways back, you know, when they were in the office strategizing about Cyrus and how to deal with him, you know, they were like, you know, we can take him out, but that doesn't solve the problem. So, taking Cyrus out, they're just going to replace him with somebody else. You know, the idea is to have his business partners lose faith in Cyrus. Because here's the thing. If Cyrus is able to continue running his drug operation or whatever, then word is going to get out, because Sonny, for a while, was just like, yo, you're not getting drugs through my territory. And if Cyrus is able to do it, oh, well, I mean, that guy's able to do it. I mean, why are we not all doing it? So, it's bad. It's a bad look for Sonny. And that's what they were talking about before. But anyway, they were just like, you know, Sonny said his veiled threat of, you know, I just make problems go away. And I'm not gonna lie, this is personally just for me. Whenever I'm watching Sonny, I've been watching his character for so long. Did you ever just watch a character and you just know exactly what they're gonna say? Not just because the words, you know, when they start talking, you just know where they're gonna lead. But you know the character so much that you just know what he's gonna say. And I also feel like Sonny just kind of, he just does improv at this point with some of his lines. And he's just like, nah, it's cool. Maurice Bernard said it, and it just seemed like it worked for his character. Anyway, so, you know, Sonny makes this veiled threat. Cyrus, you know, just kind of stands there. At this point, he's just mad. And Brando's like, you know, we need to just kind of just leave. And then Cyrus is like, listen, when I tell you to take care of the situation, I don't mean take him to the hospital. And then that's pretty much the end of his character. Now, let's talk about Brooklyn. So Brooklyn makes her final, you know, Brooklyn and that kind of patch things up or whatever, and she's like, I'm leaving. Which is great, because this is another, and I said this in the beginning, about characters that just, floundering characters. And I felt like in the beginning, I felt like they probably had a story for Brooklyn, and somewhere through the shuffle of COVID-19, plans being delayed, certain actors not coming back, and remember, they had to sit there and switch Brooklyn with another actress, and I don't remember what the other actress looked like now. I really don't. I just remember this version. But she must have had a storyline that must have wanted to go somewhere, because it just went south. Like, she didn't have a love interest. They weren't doing a whole love triangle thing with Dustin and Brooklyn and Lulu. So, like, what is she doing? You know? I don't think the actress could really sing in real life, so it just seemed like her character just wasn't going to fit in anyway, and they just kept having her make disasters after disasters after disasters. And finally, they were just like, yeah, sorry, we're just not going to waste your time. We're not going to waste the character any longer. I don't know if that's the case, or if it's just a case of Brooklyn screws up to a point where she just decides to leave town. Because you got to remember, this isn't the first time this character has left town after screwing up or just doing enough stupid stuff to where it's just like, yeah, you got to bounce. I mean, we take it back to her trying to seduce Dante with Carly, because Carly wanted to get back at Lulu, and somehow Lulu still forgave her for that. To this day, I don't really agree, and I don't understand why, but this isn't the first time Brooklyn just kind of hightailed it out of Port Charles. But, you know, she made her final goodbyes to Ned, and then she talked to Valentine. And Valentine and you know, Brooklyn talked, and they said their goodbyes, and, you know, Valentine was like, you know, hopefully you come back soon, you know? And he walks off, and Brooklyn is like, maybe sooner than you expect. And she reaches in the purse, and it's a pregnancy test, and I'm like, what? Now, this would be really great if this character actually stuck around. But this is one of the problems that I'm starting to notice with GH. And I don't know if Brock TV talked about it. He might have talked about it. I mean, this guy, he's always going on his talking points. But GH has a really bad problem of not finishing the storylines that they start. Or just kind of leaving it, like, either open-ended or whatever. Look at Holly, you know? They have her trapped in a room. She's alive, but we're just... Holly who? What? What's a Holly? It's like they just totally just... No word of it. They haven't, like... We haven't seen any more storyline from her. Is she gonna get out? What is the case with Holly, you know? They barely talk about Drew. And this isn't the first time that they started. And I, if I remember more, I'll sit there and talk about it tomorrow. But this isn't the first time that they started a storyline, and they did that with Hayden. Now I understand that the actress and the contracts and all the behind the scenes drama, but if they really wanted to, they could have just recast the actress. Hell, look at Claudette. Look at Claudette. Remember her? Remember she was a thing? And now we, like, barely talk about her? And it's like, was she... You know, they said it was suicide, but then they was like, we're going to investigate to see if, you know, Claudette. I actually paused it because I couldn't remember her name. That's sad. But yeah, that story just... And now they're doing it with Brooklyn, and I don't know what is the case behind this. I don't know. But GH has a really bad habit of just not finishing their storylines, and I would love to see how the storyline would play out. But goodness, for people who watch my days and my GH reviews, GH. Listen, I go back to Port Charles, okay? 2002, 2000, maybe, when I've been watching GH. This is when they had Claudette, or not Claudette, Claudia. The woman who played Claudia was Carly. I go back that far. So when I sit there and say GH is my show, GH is my show. With that being said, I don't know what the hell they're doing now, but it's, in some instances, it's driving me up a wall, because I look at Days and I'm like, I don't like Days as much as GH. I do like Days, but there's things I like about Days better than GH, and that's a problem, because why? And the last thing I'm going to sit there and talk about, and I think this is the last thing, is Nina. Nina pretty much just kind of is feeling defeated. She's like, you know what, I'm right back to where I started. And Jax is like, you know what, you should keep going, you know? Nina is still like, oh yeah, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Then Valentine walks up and she talks to Valentine. This is after Jax got a call from Carly to come straight to her house. And I'm not gonna lie, listen, I get that they share a daughter, but something about the fact that you're with your girlfriend or your date at the time, or whoever she is for you, your partner, whatever, and then this other woman that is Jax's ex just says, come over now, and he just whooshes right over there, you know? And I get it, they have a daughter and stuff like that, but how long could that just keep lasting before Nina's like, yo, no, I'm your girl now, I'm your priority. I get that you have a daughter with her, but you can't just sit there, like, she's not just going to keep snapping her fingers, you just run to her. Like, that just doesn't look good optic-wise. Anyway, he heads over there, and Nina talks to Valentine. Now, Valentine was talking to Martin about making Nina, like, legally in Charlotte's life. And he walks over there and he talks to Nina. He's like, listen, you know, I want you to be part of Charlotte's life legally. She's like, I'm cool with that. And then Nina asks Valentine, you know, should I continue the search? And Valentine's like, listen, I don't like Jax. And I think he's a bunch of bad names that I'm not going to say. But, you know what? Listen, you come this far. It's not totally out of the possibilities, you know. Go for it, you know. At first I thought he was going to sit there and say just stop. But I guess when you sit there and think about it, you know, your own flesh and blood being out there, you're I'm trying to find a good metaphor for, you know, when you have a child, you know, a piece of your heart is always outside, sort of thing. Like, yeah, keep going. And that's pretty much what he says to her. Now, Carly calls Jax over ASAP because once she looked at Avery's necklace, she realized it was Nell. She realized that Nell was, Nina, you know, is Nina's daughter. So, you know, she talks to Jax about it and she's like, yo, Nell is Nina's daughter. They go back and forth and then, you know, Jax is like, oh man, you know, I wonder how she's gonna take it when I tell her. And Carly's like, yeah, you're not gonna tell her that. And at this point, you know, they go back and forth, and Jax was like, you know, me not telling her is no better than Valentine. And, you know, Carly's like, you know, the truth is the enemy, and, you know, she's gonna blame herself. Let her just, you know, search till she gets no end, you know? Because the truth is gonna hurt her a lot more than the lie will. But in reality, the truth is probably going to hurt her because she's going to blame Carly for Nell's accident. She's going to blame her for a lot of stuff, even if it doesn't make any sense. She's going to blame her. So, guess it'll only be a matter of time before Nina learns that Nell is her daughter. That's pretty much what I'm just saying in general. With that being said, yeah. And I think the last thing I was going to sit there and say was when all three of them are together, and I mean like Michael, Chase, and Willow, you know, Michael's like, yo, how did we get to this point? You know, and this is after he tells both of them that she OD'd and she's been using, and, you know, Chase is like, yeah, you know, she's been acting erratic. I was like, Chase, you're a detective. I mean, do I even really have to finish that sentence? You're a detective. You deal with people like that every day. What are you a detective of, by the way? But, yeah, with that being said, yeah, that ends this review. I know this came out super late, but I hope anyone that's watching this, and is probably watching this tomorrow, please watch it tomorrow. By the way, I can't believe it was a Friday and it was like 60 views. I was like, wow. Thank you everyone for watching. It's weird. Usually my days reviews get more views than my GH, but GH this week, or at least Friday, was 60. I'm still shocked by that. And I'm also very, very, very grateful. And also very sorry because I know this came out super late. But if you're watching this tomorrow, just know that my review for tomorrow may be coming out somewhat late because I have to go to the dentist. I have a dentist appointment, and depending on my pain level and how fast Novocaine wears off, yeah. There's a possibility that, well, I'm not going to say it because most likely I will. And if I don't make a video tomorrow, then I'll say that I'm not going to make a video tomorrow. But as it stands now, there will be a video tomorrow. It may just be coming out a little bit late because, well, I'm not going to sit there and talk with my mouth all like numb and everything. But yes, a lot of hand movements. Have a good day, good night. Depending on watching this, be safe. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what your thoughts are on yesterday's episode of GH. Catch you in the next video.